So here we are once again at La Belle Esplanade in the dining room, professional operations. See how that worked? So, as usual, there's no preparation. I'm here with Caitlin, Carol, right? Look at that, Miss Carol, my new assistant, who's very excited to be here.
Maybe too excited.
Well, that's all right. So, as usual, no preparation. We're at La Belle Esplanade, number one place to stay in New Orleans since April 2014, number two in the United States, number 16 in the world. Okay, so that's out of the way. Now, Caitlin, what do you want to know about New Orleans? I have no idea what she's going to ask me. Here we go. Cold. Hit me.
There are a lot of saints. What do you who do you think is the patron saint of New Orleans?
Officially, the patron saint of New Orleans is St. Louis, King of France. That's why it's St. Louis Cathedral. Okay, and if you go to where the Archbishop has his office, essentially, there's a big statue of St. Louis there, and he's officially the patron saint of New Orleans. But we also have Our Lady of Prompt Succor, who is also the patron saint, or the patroness, I should say, of New Orleans and also of all of Louisiana. Because what happened is during the fire down in the French Quarter, we're talking 250 years ago, okay, at the Ursulines convent, they had a statue of Our Lady of Prompt Succor. Succor means help, so prompt help. And so the fire was coming through the French Quarter. The nuns go and they pray for the intercession of Our Lady of Prompt Succor to help to keep the fire away from the convent. Fire stops. And so that's why the convent now is the oldest building on this side of the Mississippi. Okay? And their national shrine for Our Lady of Prompt Succor is up at Ursulines Academy. So the Ursulines are still in town. The nuns are still in town. They're not in the French Quarter anymore. They're up on State Street, State and Claiborne. Okay, and the shrine is up there. It's beautiful in there. And there's a big statue. It's all in gold. You'll see the statue when you go to different Catholic churches. So she's very important as well. And then, of course, you have Joan of Arc, okay, which is probably what brought this up, because what's today? Today is the day when we have the Joan of Arc parade, which opens up Mardi Gras season. And the Joan of Arc statue, this is unofficial, but the Joan of Arc statue down in the French Quarter, big gold statue, that was a gift from the country of France. And that was given to us after World War II, okay? Francois Mitterrand, I believe, is the one who gave it to us. And he actually presented this statue. And it used to be on the foot of Canal Street, where Harris Casino is. But then they moved it over to where it is now, what is it, Decatur and South Peters, where they split off, right? So the crew of Joan of Arc is the crew that opens up Mardi Gras Day, or Mardi Gras season. And they've only been around for 12 years, I want to say. This is only the 12th parade. Maybe it's 13. I don't know. It's one or the other. And so traditionally, Mardi Gras season is opened by the Funny 40 Fellows, which has been around since 1898 or something. And they are guys who, they get on a streetcar with a brass band, and the streetcar goes down St. Charles Avenue, and they're all throwing beads at the streetcar. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody. It's time. It's the season. And then when the crew of Joan of Arc formed, they had to talk to the 40 Funny Fellows and say, is it okay if we roll on this day too? A whole diplomatic thing, okay, because Mardi Gras is very important. And so they say, well, why don't you do it on her feast day, which is in March? And, well, it's because it's now Mardi Gras most of the time. And actually, January 6th, that's Joan of Arc's birthday. So that's why it's this day. And that's why they wanted to have the parade that day. So everybody gets dressed up in medieval costume, and then a girl gets selected to be Joan of Arc. She's 16 years old. It's a whole application process. She has to speak French. They ask her questions in French about Joan of Arc and history and whatnot. And when the girl who gets picked, she gets all dressed up in armor and rides on a white horse in front of the parade. They call her Joanie on the pony. And then she's followed by the King and Queen of France, who do not ride horses anymore because one of the qualifications to be Joan of Arc is you have to be able to ride a horse. Well, they didn't do that with the King and Queen, and now I think they're pulled in a pedicab or something. I don't know. I'm not usually up in that part of the parade. So Melanie and I were members of the crew of Joan of Arc. And so that's why I don't really know what happens up front, because I'm in the middle of the parade somewhere most of the time, so I don't get to see everything. I get to see all the crowds. And the other saints, there are other saints that are very important in New Orleans. And so you have Saint Roch, of course, and there's a whole story behind that. And Saint Mother Cabrini, Cabrini High School at the end of my street, Mother Cabrini used to live there, okay? And so she's got a real connection. So does Saint Catherine Drexel, and that's where Xavier University, she founded that. And then you have Blessed Father Silos, who's not a saint yet, but I always got to include him because his shrine is uptown at the Church of the Assumption. So
That's beautiful.
yes, it is. It is. You're right. And have you been to the shrine? It's like a museum.
No.
It's very, very interesting.
Well, now I need to.
You should go. It's well worth it. It tells all about the yellow fever epidemic and stuff when he died. Yeah, he was a priest. He was a German priest, a Redemptorist, and he came down. He traveled all. He was in other places before he came to New Orleans. He was just here for a very short amount of time, but he died during the yellow fever epidemic, and he's been considered for sainthood ever since. So that's the main saints in a nutshell. There are more, but
Oh, sure.
that's all I got on the top of my head. Okay, so
Well, I mean, you
there you go.
covered a lot.
Well, it's what I do for a living.
Sure.
So how much time we got here?
Oh, we're at 6:32.
Oh, really? You want to talk about something else?
I've always been curious about Saint Roch, and
Yeah.
because when I grew up, we had a bulldog named Rocky, but he was named Saint Roch. So
Okay. So Saint Roch, dogs don't have patron saints, but he's the patron saint of dogs. Okay. He's always associated with dogs.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's
Oh,
true.
awesome.
That's true. You only see him. He's got a pilgrim staff and a dog, and the dog has a loaf of bread in his mouth. Okay, that's how you know you're talking about Saint Roch. So he was he's a very holy man. He was helping people, again, some kind of plague or something, and he was helping people, and he caught the plague, and so he didn't want to infect anyone else at the hospital where he was working. Okay. So what he did is he went out in the wild and he crawled into the bushes to die like a bird would, okay? And so he was there for a couple of days, and a dog came up and brought him some bread to eat. And so that's why he's associated with dogs. And he was healed, and he went back and did more good work.
Oh, I love
So that's right.
story.
So the reason St. Roch is important, we have a whole St. Roch neighborhood, and the St. Roch Cemetery, number 1 and number 2. The National Shrine for St. Roch is in St. Roch Cemetery, number 1. And so you go in, and what happens is there was a big yellow fever epidemic, right? It happened all the time back in the day. And so the new priest at St. Mary's Star at Sea, he prayed for St. Roch's intercession. If nobody in the parish contracted yellow fever during this epidemic, he would build a shrine to St. Roch. And so nobody got yellow fever. That's why we got the National St. Roch Shrine right there. It's very, very interesting. The cemetery is beautiful. It's all enclosed, of course. You know, it's got walls all around it, and the crypts are in the walls. And then you have the Stations of the Cross in each of the corners. And then in the middle, there's beautiful statues. And you go in, sometimes it's locked up because unfortunately, not the cemetery, but the shrine is locked up because unfortunately too many websites started covering it. So people are like, oh, let me go look at the shrine because it's full of all these crutches and mementos of like somebody's hand or their heart or something. When they got healed, they would pray to St. Roch for his intercession. And after they were healed, they'd give him the crutch, put the crutches in the shrine, put a copy of my hand in the shrine and whatnot. And it all says, thank you, St. Roch and whatnot. And there's a big statue of him. And it's not in the best condition, but I understand they're going to make some repairs to it soon. There's a fundraising drive going on. And then, so that's St. Roch number 1, and right behind it is St. Roch Cemetery number 2, and that's a shrine to St. Michael the Archangel. So look at that, huh?
Very glorious.
Yes, so
He's in good company.
yes, indeed. So that's why St. Roch is important here.
Well, I'm glad to know
Yeah,
that.
there you go. So I think we're running out of time here.
Yeah, we're at 9:43.
There you go. Look, when you're coming to New Orleans, you know where to stay, La Belle Esplanade. You have yourselves a great New Orleans day today, labelleesplanade.com. Ciao.